Well, just like that, we are back, everyone. Welcome to another video. Another Baldur's Gate video. Woo! If that wasn't already clear by the title, it's clear now. So we are over here at Joaquin Phoenix's Rest, and we are about to venture into some sort of underground zone, and I'm hoping this is an entrance to the catacombs. If not, this is going to be a very short video that I may throw out, because I'm going to have to spend 10 minutes trying to remember where the original entrance that I found is. Or no, we have a teleport there, so never mind what I just said. Just delete it, strike that, reverse it, as Wonka would say. So anyway, we're going to head in here, and the reason I chose Joaquin Phoenix isn't just for the epic linguistic similarity to this Joaquin name. It's because I had a fomenting rant in the bowels of my brain that I wanted to brap out for all of you to hear. And that rant is about the sort of Joker mentality. And it's not a political thing. It's not something that I want to connect with any ideology or group or opinion or whatever that have sort of tried to co-opt that movie's artfulness as a way of elevating their point of view. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to support any of that. What I am trying to do is talk about something that Shakespeare sort of pioneered. And there are probably authors before him that did this. There are probably Greek tragicians, like magicians, but with tragedy. There are probably Greek playwrights that did this before Shakespeare, because Shakespeare or whoever the fuck else wrote those plays, which is probably a group of playwrights that chose a moniker, a brand name, if you will, to represent the work of a small group. Francis Bacon was probably one. There's maybe a woman who wrote some plays. I have no idea. Scholars debate this shit. But whoever wrote Shakespeare's plays, or whatever group did, clearly was inspired by Greek tragedy writers who may have also used this trope in their plays. Again, I'm not familiar with the specifics of it, but it suffices to say that there's a trope in many canonical plays of a character either going insane or feigning insanity, pretending to be insane. That's what that means, as a defense mechanism. And the Joaquin Phoenix Joker is an interesting example of that, because that character is trying to cope with things that are literally driving him nuts. And so he takes on this persona, he puts on face paint, he wears a costume as a way of sort of minimally externalizing that that mental anguish that he's feeling that's driving him towards insanity. And as a last-ditch effort, he's like, well, I'll try to externalize it, but he does it in a way that makes that externalizing process literally and figuratively too close to him. It's right on top of his skin. He creates a persona that's right on top his flesh, that represents something that he's trying to externalize and not remove from himself or delete or pretend doesn't exist. It's an aspect of himself, or his inability to cope. It's a weakness, whatever you want to call it. And he's trying to find a way to separate things in a healthy way from himself, and he chooses an unhealthy way of doing it, and it damages his life. Some comedians do this when they use drugs, when they spiral into their comedic persona too much. The ones that do it successfully are the ones that are able to keep some sort of separation, or do that as an illusion, like a certain person whose moniker is the inverse of Dr. Jekyll, who you may be familiar with. And it doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person, or somewhere in between, which is most people. But you have to be very careful when you're using insanity in this way. It's like juggling vials of nitroglycerin. You really have to be careful with that. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was, the Joaquin, waypoint. It kind of summoned up like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix. I'll make a quick joke about that in my next video. That was my thought process. And then I thought, maybe I'll just talk about insanity, because I didn't rant in the last 2 videos, and I'll do a big fat epic rant. I'll take a big fat rant shit all over everybody. So what I want to talk about is the sort of advantages and disadvantages of doing that, and how to do it right. Because the play Hamlet is the perfect example of this, where you have a character who's experiencing a bunch of psychological turmoil from various sources, and he doesn't have a way to cope. And at the same time, he's experiencing challenges in his life involving people that he has no power to effectively respond to. So in Hamlet's case, specifically, he's dealing with his the Freudian psychology of his uncle marrying his mom, which is a fucked up thing. He's dealing with the pressures of being the successor to the throne, and he feels like the whole idea of being king and the whole throne are sort of tainted by all this incestuous behavior, which is both metaphorical and literal. You have literal incest, and you also have power is incestuous because it needs to maintain itself. There has to be somebody at the top, and the people who end up being there can often be good people, but nevertheless they have to do some heinous things to maintain that power. So he's trying to grapple morally with all that, and despite the fact that he's an older person in adaptation to that play, I'm actually not sure now if he was supposed to be 17 in the original play, or if he's in his 30s. Regardless, he's essentially an adult according to the definition of what an adult is in his time. So he's forced to reconcile all these things all at once, and it's overwhelming to him. The main thing, though, that's a subtext to that play that's not often discussed is he's in love with this girl, Ophelia, and his mother is sort of jealous of this, and there's an interpretation of that play which I think is valid, that says that Hamlet's mother kills Ophelia. She's actually the one who drowns Ophelia, because Hamlet's girlfriend, his epic GF, his goth GF, in that play, she drowns, but it's very sort of quickly explained, kind of like when you watch a movie that's a thriller, and they sort of quickly imply that something might be suspicious, and then they move on, and they move on almost too fast. And because plays were the equivalent of movies in the fucking late 1600s, or late 1500s, 1600s, when Hamlet was writing these things, when Shakespeare was, excuse me. What that basically is the equivalent of is you're watching a thriller and a character dies in a weird way really quick, and the movie intentionally doesn't focus on it, and it feels like it should have focused on it more, but it sort of rushes past it. And so scholars have looked at that play and gone, well, we can't imagine how this would have been portrayed in its time perfectly. So given the fact that we've had so much time to interpret this, there are a lot of scholars who are it's heavily implied that Hamlet's mother either had Ophelia killed or had her drowned, or did it herself. So Hamlet is dealing with all this shit going on. His girlfriend's dad doesn't approve of the union, and he has to deal with all this all at once. And the main reason that I'm talking about this is what drives people nuts for real is too much shit that is difficult to cope with happening too quickly at once. So for example, during COVID, a bunch of random shit was happening to me at the same time, and I went a little nuts, and it took me some time to recover from that. Recover, I mean, my YouTube channel's called Madman, and I'm talking to you about weird theories about Hamlet, so, interpret that however you want, but the point I'm trying to make is that when Hamlet, in that play, is going through all this bullshit, he says, well, I'm almost going nuts, to the point where I almost have to literally do it somehow in order to channel the madness into something. So he puts on a persona of going insane. He creates a fake character in his mind, and he says, I'm going to channel my madness into this character. And whether that's him actually going nuts in the sense that he's not coping right, or whether it's him using the madness as an excuse to just get revenge before he knows he's going to be killed by one party or another, that's up for debate, which is what makes that play so interesting. The language is very dense, it's very convoluted, it's hard to get through. It's boring, frankly, unless you spend waste years of your life studying it to interpret it. But I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I'll give you the Madman Cliff Notes version of that. Because I love you guys, and I want you to appreciate good shit. And if you've never actually watched that play, the only version that I would recommend anybody watch in 2024 is a version filmed in the mid-90s. It's by a guy named Kenneth Branagh. He's the director, and he plays Hamlet, and it is a fucking masterpiece. It's long, but you can watch it in episodes. Pretend it's a miniseries. Watch it 45 minutes at a time. Whatever you need to do to see it. There's nothing else that I can recommend anybody watch that's old or that's from that era, except that particular adaptation of that particular play. If you've fallen into the Pepe Joker meme thing at any point, and you're smart enough to recognize that it is a meme and that it's being used against you in certain contexts, especially those people who are hearing this need to watch the Kenneth Branagh Hamlet. So when Hamlet puts on this persona of madness, which may or may not be him actually giving into it, what makes that play interesting is he uses it as an excuse to tell the truth and as an excuse to no, I guess he does manipulate the people around him. I guess he has to. So I'll use that term. He manipulates the people around him to serve whatever impulses he can't channel out of himself. And comedians do the same thing. So Hamlet in that play sort of becomes this edgy comedian, and he starts trolling people around him. Like the dad, the father of his girlfriend, who disapproves of their union, he just starts fucking with the guy. He's like, oh, you don't like me? Okay, well, if you don't like me, then I'll be even more unlikable to you because I can't change your mind logically. I can't have a conversation with you and convince you that I'm fit for your daughter. You've made up your mind. So I'll just fuck with you. Like, if I can't change your mind, I'll just fuck with you. So he just starts to come off as even more insane. And at the same time, he warns his girlfriend, get away from my mother. She's trying to kill you. He says to Ophelia, go to a nunnery, which is a place where she'd be protected. She'd have sanctuary. She'd be protected from Hamlet's mother's wrath. And unfortunately, because he's been acting so weird, Ophelia doesn't interpret this correctly, and she goes, oh, you're just insane. So the reason I'm mentioning all this is that if you use madness too much as a means of getting your message across, whether you're trying to red pill your little group of thralls, or whether you're trying to protect your family or protect yourself, the problem with using it too much is that it ends up becoming a bigger weakness than other methods can be. And there are times when you don't have any other option, right? Hamlet felt like he was in that position in that play. And I think there are times in real life when that's the case. However, you have to be very careful. Again, it's like juggling little vials of nitroglycerin and hoping they don't blow your hands off. Like that's what playing with madness is like. And the reason I bring up the Joaquin Phoenix Joker is because in that movie there's a few moments in it where he seems to be just sort of pretending to be nuts, but then he sort of falls for his own performance. He's so good at performing that madness that he actually goes insane towards the end, or he falls into his own self fantasy. And there's a tendency to do that even if you're not pretending to be nuts. If you're pretending to be confident, you can become overconfident. If you're feigning or pretending to be pious, you can become overly pious. This sounds very psychopathic or sociopathic, but what I would say to people who think that talking about these things in this way is disturbing, I'd ask you a question. I would say, do you talk to your 90-year-old grandma the same way you talk to your friend at a bar? Or a girl at a bar? Better example. Of course not, right? You modulate your speech and your actions to serve the people that you respect and who you want to pay positive attention to. And that's it's not considered sociopathic or psychopathic. It's a basic wearing of different masks that we all do in the West in order to maintain Western civilization, which is based on performance and acting, which is not a bad thing. Dante's Divine Comedy, to go off on a slight tangent, or a tangent of a tangent, is aptly named because whether it's aliens or DMT elves or angels watching us, there is something that seems to be mediating reality in a way that we don't understand. And it expresses itself subtly and sort of sporadically, but it does so in ways that are measurably significant so that we notice them, but we don't have the capacity to explain or understand them. So Dante looked at things and went, well, whatever the case is, it seems like this is a comedy. Like there's a South Park episode where the South Park, kids discover, oh, Earth is a reality show, and there's aliens that watch it for entertainment. And if it stops being entertaining, that's when we have a problem. That's a metaphor for Western civilization. It's not a metaphor for all of humanity or all of Earth or whatever. It's specifically a Western perspective on Western civilization. It's the South Park creators saying, if you want the West to keep going, you have to recognize that you have to be a performer and you have to play a role somehow. And the problem with adopting a clown or jester role is if you take that role too seriously, you will fuck yourself over and potentially fuck over everyone you're trying to protect by playing that role. So it's not as if it's not workable or it's not necessary, but the issue becomes if you let that role consume you, just like any other role can consume you, it's very fucking bad. And Hamlet sort of just gets selfish and vindictive and vengeful. And he disobeys the advice of his father's ghost, which is really just a metaphor for like paternal wisdom and instinct and tribal wisdom passed down through oral traditions and whatever else. He disobeys it selfishly. Hamlet's real sin at the end of the day, if you want to interpret things in a sort of Judeo-Christian Abrahamic way, his sin was not lying or deceit or any of those things. He was arguably forced into that position. His sin was that he was overconfident and vengeful, and he gave into sort of the hubris of playing this role of a madman, if it was a role. And I would be inclined to interpret Hamlet that way. I would look at that play and go, Hamlet was faking the madness the whole time. But the problem was his fakery was so good, he was too good of an actor, that he dragged people down with him that he didn't mean to harm. He was actually trying to help people. And because he came off as so insane, those people died. His girlfriend died. His mother, he despite her sins, her flaws, whatever, he didn't hate her enough to want her dead. He really just wanted to kill the uncle. But the problem is in his fervor to do so, he sort of blinded himself. And there's other examples of people doing this in different contexts, but it's a fascinating play. And I know I'm coming across as a pretentious academic, but I'm not at a conference right now. I'm talking to you guys. So there's me flexing my own, humble brag ego. I'm making this video for 5 people because I would rather 5 people who aren't academics hear what I'm saying than 50 people who are academics hear it, because I know how those people are going to interpret it. They're just going to recycle what I'm saying for more papers. They're not going to actually improve or change their lives. Maybe that's cynicism, but I'm almost certain of that. My instincts and my intuition tell me that that's a lesser way of distributing this information. I'd rather be punished for giving it to random people who may or may not even care. So anyway, the reason I'm mentioning all this is to say that, like, if you're doing something like this in your life, be careful. And no matter who you are, you have my sympathy and my respect for being in a situation that demands that you do this. And that can be any situation. But, Hamlet just wanted to save the people he loved, and he destroyed them all by doing this. And I'm not trying to discourage people. I'm just saying, think about this in a measured, logical way. Don't take it as some sort of fear-mongering psyop. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from doing anything. I'm just saying, think about it. And if you are still convinced that you're right, go with your gut. Don't change your behavior. Do what you're doing. I'm not here to manipulate or change anybody's mind or change anybody's behavior. It's not my prerogative, I'm here to observe and record, primarily. That's my credo, my ethos, my purpose, is to observe and record. I'm not here to influence things. But through my acts of observance, I can, chronicle things. I can explain things. It's kind of like the characters in this game. There's a couple of them that have said, well, I'm bound by this oath. I can't really do X, Y, and Z, but I can do A, B, or C. I can do some things without feeling like I'm taking a too big of a risk or doing too much too fast. So, interpret that however you want. Interpret it as me just being nuts. If you feel like that, that's fine. But yeah, Hamlet. The reason Hamlet's a tragedy is because the protagonist has good intentions and they're sort of corrupted by his own flaws and by how others misinterpret what he's doing. And those are things that don't go away. They're always going to be factors in your overall behavior. You can't really account for them perfectly, but the best thing you can do is just be aware of what you're doing. Cultivate awareness first. That's sort of the base of the mental pyramid, is just be more aware of your own habits and what you're doing. And if you're trying to hide something from yourself, that's never a good thing, whatever that thing is. Just be more aware of your behavior, and then once you're aware, try to accept what you're doing, and then after you accept it, then you can act on it. But awareness and acceptance are sort of the first two steps, and then after that, act on things. Don't just act randomly, like you're doing a trial and error experiment. That never works. You have to start with acceptance, or with awareness, and then acceptance, and then action. That's extraordinarily helpful advice that you would probably have to pay a therapist to tell you. And I'm telling it to you for free, if you're listening. If I find good knowledge that I think people need to hear, I distribute it for free.
That's far enough. Why are you ranting down here? Answer me. You're not supposed to be talking about this knowledge. Do you want to play the role of Lucifer, Prometheus, Christ? In any of those three cases, you'll be punished harshly for telling the normies any of this.
Your colleague gave me a passphrase. Little dragonfly. Long tongue.
That just tells me you've met my people, not why you're here in their stead.
Relax. I'm a good Archon. Your people won't be coming back. They're already gone or converted to the other side.
Really? That information would be worth quite a bit to me, if you're telling the truth. We've disarmed the traps. Come down.
This chick reminds me of a girl I was attracted to. God damn. It's got a certain fierceness to her. Okay, what do we have down here? This is like a whole society. Holy shit. It's the fucking New York tunnels. I hope not. That shit's just come out recently. That is some heinous shit. That is fucking crazy. I'm not even going to get into it specifically. But people who are privy to that will know what I'm talking about. Whether it's true or false, it's heinous. I mean, it seems pretty true to me. I don't know. Again, you can't believe anything that you see on the internet. I'd have to be on the streets of New York to be like, oh yeah, this is crazy. But the video evidence is pretty damning. Okay, so we found a little hive of potentially good Archons here. They got a dragon symbol on their crates. What are these guys, fucking Skyrim fans? There's a trail of oil that's tempting me to fight them and then blow the oil up and burn everything. Clearly what that's there for. Let's talk to this chick up here. Where is she? Is she up here? Oh boy, guys. She's not up here. Fuck. half of the 4 of you watching are like, keep ranting. The other half are like, no, do some gaming. Fucking, this is boring as shit. God damn it. Where the fuck is the chick who summoned us down here, man? Fuck's sake. Is she down here? Has she been down here the whole time? There's a golden yellow bubble down there, a little blot, so that must be her. If not, it's somebody we can talk to start some dialogue and read some shit. Let's just talk to these people, fuck it. Let's talk to Brem over here.
Why don't you cut a fine figure? Want your portrait done? If you have the gold, my pet artist will make you a most heroical likeness. You have a pet artist? Let's say we're his patrons, yeah? Found him wandering the wilds alone. He needs protection. And if his paintings will cover our costs, so much the better, eh? Protection? Sounds a bit more like kidnapping. You looking to buy him? This is a human trafficking tunnel, motherfucker. It's under the streets of New York. I'm open to offers, mate.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's see if we can get him to free the poor fuck. 20! Jesus, that's fucking... Oh yeah, that was gonna work. God damn, dude. Fuck, I'm gonna have to free these people. Oh, I could have...
I expect so. Your persuasion skill couldn't hit a 20. Whoever wants him, I'd have lots of adrenochrome to trade for him.
Okay, well, that guy we fucked up. Alright, let's talk to Garius.
You don't want to keep Xeris waiting, believe me.
Yeah, if I could find her, I would, dude, but I'm fucking cocked right now, so, you know, give me a fucking break. As if I could say and do all this while I was sober. You gotta be fucking kidding. Who could do that?
You? The way you handled Xeris? You're not one of her thugs. You need to buy me. Why are you selling yourself? Selling myself? I'm not some lower city coin lad offering you a tumble in my ass. I'm an artist.
What's the difference?
But ooh! My patron will reward you for my rescue tenfold whatever ransom you pay, I guarantee it. Who is your patron? As far as you're concerned, she may as well be the coin maiden herself.
What is it, like the female owner of a whorehouse? Yeah, I'm inclined to just kill all these people at this point. Time to purge. Just get them out of here. All right, let's talk to Bellar. What does she have to say? Or he?
You seem a nice sort. Glad we didn't have to kill you.
Great. Epic dialogue, guys. For real, the dialogue in this is very good. It's almost like I'm exaggerating my criticism for the sake of YouTube. But no one's ever done that. Everyone's totally honest and emotionally tempered, and they behave exactly as they would in real life on the internet. The internet's a perfect reflection of real life. It's a perfect simulacrum of the collective unconscious with no flaws or anything. I mean, it's just the same, you know? Just accept it. Just upload yourself to the internet. That's definitely better than being a human being. Ooh, shit. Steal some treasure. Can we take this without them noticing? I think we can. There's nobody up here.
Fuck it, let's do some fucking thieving, mate. Fucking take your shit. Lol, fuck you.
Damn, we got traps everywhere. God fucking damn. That's a lot of traps, man. Where the fuck is the chick who got us here? Is she back up here and we skipped ahead like an idiot? I think that's what happened. She's probably back through that gate up somewhere else. Anyway, I think I've taken up enough of your time for one video. I think I'm just going to end things here, guys. Hope that rant had some relevancy to somebody. If not, it's part of the Akashic Records. It's part of the AI's brain. So hopefully that also has some benefit to someone in the future. That's like the minimal amount of hope I allow myself when I make this crap. So anyway, regardless of all that shit, I do hope you're doing well personally. Hope your job and your life are going well. And thank you for your support. Thank you for just watching. Thank you for commenting. Whatever you're doing, I do appreciate it very much. And yeah, don't be a joker, don't be a clown unless you have to be. And if you have to be fucking careful about that shit. Anyway, that's all I'll say on the matter. And as always,
Peace out, Gators.